In this episode of The Flop, we talked to an entrepreneur about how they started the Uber for bus drivers, all the struggles they went into, all the challenges they faced, lessons learned, all that classic The Flop good stuff. If that interests you, this is the episode for you. Come on in. Welcome back to The Flop, the place where we dive into business failure and have a bit of fun while doing so. My name is Wes Rissell, and I'm your host of this show. But with me, I have my single co-host this time, Josh Bowman, because Tyler, well, we'll go into what Tyler did a little bit later. But Bowman, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing great as your first and only and best co-host. I'm feeling pretty alive about it.
The first mate for sure. We have a super exciting episode lined up for you guys today. We're going to be talking with Patrick here, and we're going to dive into a little bit of what Patrick does and what he's been working on and a story that he had as an entrepreneur. But let's start with our favorite segment, despite what Bowman thinks. Fails of the week.
All right. I got this. Let me go first. It's your best co-host. So this is about last week. It's getting nice out. So I decided to clean our old grill. We've had it for 4 years. A mouse made its home in there over the winter. So my wife's like, hey, just get rid of that grill. It's disgusting. I said, no, baby. I will clean this grill.
I'm a man. I can clean.
That's right. So I scrubbed for like 3.5 hours. I'm getting in there, and the more I clean, the more I realize how rusty this damn grill is. I then spend 3 hours trying to figure out how to buy replacement parts for all the parts that are rusted, and they cost more than buying a brand new grill. So I spent 6 hours cleaning a grill, and now I'm selling it back to the mouse for free. And the worst part was I was wrong. Like, I tried to be right harder and harder, and I was just more and more wrong as we went on. So it was a big fail.
At what point were you like, ooh, I don't know if this is actually going to work?
Hour and a half in, I was like, this is actually pretty gross. Maybe I should have bought a new grill. And then 3 hours in, I was like, oh, these parts are way too expensive, but I'm going to keep looking because now I can't be wrong. I have to prove that I will save us money.
So I'll hop into the next fail here. My fail happened today, and I actually have two of them. First one is my internet went out, and I work from home. So, kind of hard to do your job without the internet. So I decide I'm going to go to a coffee shop, but I go all the way to the coffee shop just to realize that I forgot my headphones, and I take meetings all day. So I'm not going to be that guy who's at the coffee shop just loudspeakering so everybody can hear, because I hate that guy, and that guy's not very nice.
Okay, so I think my fail of the week happened yesterday. I know, Wes, you're from North Carolina, right? I was literally just down there in Greensboro. Literally yesterday, I had to go down there to get a bus to bring back to Baltimore. I had booked a bus ticket via a third-party app. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the Delta experience I'm kind of used to. I'm a little spoiled in that regard. So that was my first failing.
What happened on the ride?
Sure. So I get on the bus, and it looked okay. So I'm expecting to just get a ton of work done because I can't sleep during moving vehicles. So I bring my laptop, and I'm like ready. And then the Wi-Fi doesn't work. And I'm like, well, the app told me you had Wi-Fi, and this doesn't have Wi-Fi. So that just kind of craps on the 7 hours of heavy-duty work plan. But it's like, you know what? I got my hotspot. I got like 3 gigabytes. I can knock it out. And then I'm looking for like the charger, and the charger is actually a USB charger, and it's on the ceiling. So I'm like, wait, there's no like plug here? And I'm like, okay, well, my phone's dying, so let me just plug my phone up, so at least I have that. And like I plug my phone up, and it's just like hanging in front of me the entire ride. I'm just like, and then whenever we hit like a bump or something, it just disconnects and falls back down into my lap.
That's like the AT&T service guy's nightmare. He's like, sir, what happened to your charging port? And you're like, I was this bus ride, dude.
Yeah. The other fail was me living in Maryland. I've lived in Maryland my entire life. You underestimate the power of the DMV traffic. When I left Greensboro, my GPS said I would arrive at 2:30. We went through Virginia, and I got to about the middle point right north of Richmond, and I saw my GPS go from 1 hour and 10 minutes to 1 hour and 50 minutes to 2 hours to 2:50, and then ultimately like 3:30. I got to Baltimore around 6 p.m. And so that fail was just simply forgetting where I live. For somebody who works in transportation, I should have known better to think I was going to get through Virginia scotch-free.
Patrick, for our East Coast listeners, 95 if you haven't been on it, it giveth and it taketh away.
Yeah, and here now, I'm pretty sure you guys have probably seen the news. This rogue boat knocked down one of our favorite bridges here. And so, like, the way Baltimore's shaped, there's only like 3 ways north and 3 ways south. It's 95, which is straight through, 695 east, which is to the left, and 695 west is to the right. The bridge was on 695 east, so that's just gone. So nothing can go that way. So all of that traffic migrated over to 95. And so now 95 is a parking lot. So roughly about 9 p.m. every night.
That's crazy.
Bring a lunch bag and maybe like a pack of Skittles. You'll be on there sometime.
That bridge coming down, that was, man, watching that was terrible, man.
It was. I don't know where we look like on time. Can I tell you guys a funny story about that?
What happened? I don't even know the context at all of this bridge.
You didn't see the bridge, Bowman?
No media bubble. I'm just boring.
If you're from Baltimore, like, the bridge is a part of you. So, like, if you talk bad about the bridge, it's like talking bad about Old Bay. There are 2 things you just don't talk bad about Baltimoreans: the bridge and crabs. You just don't touch those talking points if you got bad things to say. But the interesting part about the bridge is, so I have a crazy phobia of bridges. I am the only bus driver in the world that refuses to drive certain places if there is a bridge involved. So had this crazy phobia. Everybody knows it. I conveniently avoid bridges at all costs. The Key Bridge, it came down maybe 20 minutes after I went to sleep. I didn't find out about it until I woke up this morning. Now, you got a crazy phobia of bridges. You never drive over them. You're uncomfortable. You're fearful of them. This is like your worst nightmare coming to reality. I'm in the bed, and like my wife comes running in the room frantically and like shakes me and wakes me up out of my sleep. And she just says, "Oh my gosh, Patrick, did you hear what happened to the bridge?" No, I'm asleep. Obviously, I didn't hear what happened to the bridge. It just collapsed. Oh my God, it came down. The bridge came down, babe. You got to look out the window. It's just gone. I'm just like, I was right. I was right the whole time. Nobody believed me.
Vindicated.
I told all of you that this was going to happen, and nobody believed me. You keep driving these bridges, and now the bridge is down.
Well, let's get into the interview component of the show. Patrick is an entrepreneur, a bus operator, a father, and a Baltimore native. Patrick, let's talk about your previous businesses real quick.
My entrepreneurial roots start in about 2020. I had the brilliant idea to start a business in the middle of a worldwide pandemic.
Easiest time to start one.
Yeah, it was so, oh my gosh, it was just so easy, and it was so smart timing-wise. I decided to leave my job as a full-time bus operator for the state-sponsored transit agency. And when I say state-sponsored, here's what I mean, guys. That means this was the company that pays you a lot of money to drive the bus, easily over 6 figures to effectively sit down and do this all day. I said, nope, I don't want to do that. I'm going to look this pandemic in the eyes, and I'm going to go make myself a millionaire.
Heck yeah.
I will go on to start a company called Superr. Supir, which is Indonesian for bus driver.
Oh.
I didn't like my job to a degree with the routine. It felt very repetitive, redundant, and I felt like this is boring. Like, once you get good at it, it's just kind of like, I don't get passion or joy from this anymore.
You're not challenged enough.
Yeah, I wasn't challenged enough. And there was this massive shortage of bus drivers going on. And I was like, well, maybe there should be like an app where bus companies like the one I work for can just summon a bus driver from their phone. So I thought to myself, well, you should do what you're good at. I'm good at driving a bus. I'm going to create an app where people can just summon me in the same way they summon a pizza.
You have this aspiration. You have this goal. Where did the rubber meet the road?
Superr came at a rubber meets the road point where I was like, this is where I can take what I'm good at and effectively just scale it. Like, I just wanted to create carbon copies of myself and find a way to deliver that.
You knew the bus driving component. Like, you've been doing that for several years.
Yeah, almost. At that point, it was 10. Literally, in my mind, I'm the Michael Jordan of it. Some people would disagree.
That's awesome.
Saying, well, I got proof that kind of proves like I'm at least in the conversation.
The GOAT of bus operations.
The GOAT who can't drive over bridges, but yeah.
Well, Superman has kryptonite. Bridges are yours, and that's okay.
Yeah, man. But the rubber really met the road when I won a pitch competition. Well, Superr had been around for maybe all of 60 days at that point. And I won a contest called Accelerate Baltimore, which was a venture capital sponsored thing. And they chose 5 out of hundreds of entrepreneurs to be able to fund and invest in and put through an accelerator. And at that point, Superr we didn't really have anything. We had me just doing a bunch of cold calling.
That's crazy. And you just stumbled upon this pitch competition and said, let me throw my hat in the ring.
So, funny story. I don't know how much time we have, and they've never heard this. So, hopefully, they don't watch this because they're gonna be mad. I'll be honest. I didn't think I stood a chance because at that point, I hadn't really done anything. We didn't have a website. We didn't really have much of nothing. So, I found out about the pitch competition just typing in like investors because I felt like I needed an app because, well, Uber was an app, DoorDash was an app, so I needed one.
Yeah,
How much is an app? Oh, I can't afford that. How can I get that? Reddit says raise venture capital. Okay, type in venture capital Baltimore. Oh, there's a competition. I'll never forget it. I think I still have the source video. We were supposed to submit a video interviewing ourselves, talking about why we should win the competition and things of that nature. You know, hundreds of people into this proven startups, sometimes repeat startups. I'm like, dude, I'm a guy with a slide deck. Like, I didn't even know what a slide deck was. So I just threw something together based upon what I thought I knew about slide decks. The director of the program called me on a Sunday. It was my wife's birthday. And was like, hey, Mr. Purns, we're about to like submit these videos. You forgot to submit yours. Do you want to submit it? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I shot home about 40 minutes from where we were. It was my wife's birthday, mind you. So we were like celebrating with her. And I'm just like, let me go do this video. I mean, what I got to lose, right? I just want to do what I said I was going to do and send the video. And I'll never forget it. Like I was sitting at the kitchen table, stressed about business, just worried about like, I don't know what I'm doing. I left my state government job, my benefits, my, at the time, 6-figure salary to be like an entrepreneur because I believe too much of this YouTube hype. And I got a call that said, hey, Mr. Purns, you were one of like 5 of like hundreds of selected for this program. We're going to fund your company $50K. Here's the roadmap. Here's your next steps, et cetera, et cetera. It was on a Sunday, which was weird enough. And from there, it was off to the races.
That's really cool, Patrick. And I think it's a big lesson, right? It's less about the planning. It's more about just doing the thing. Because you weren't confident. You almost didn't submit the video if the guy didn't like reach out to you. So I think it's a great lesson for the folks at home. If you're contemplating and kind of stuck in that phase, just do it.
Just do it. My wife will tell you my favorite phrase and her least favorite phrase is jump out of the plane and learn how to fly on the way down. You have 30,000 feet to figure it out.
Now we're sounding like a startup.
Figure it out on the way down.
You're speaking to Wes's heart because working with him, I was always the guy who was like, is it the right slide deck template? And he was like, just submit the template. We're moving on from the template.
We're doing white background. That's it, Bowman. Just a white background.
He'd always convince me. He'd be like, we got to move to the next problem. I'm like, all right, we'll move to the next problem.
He would bounce me out because I would try to move too quick. Okay, Patrick. So you win this competition. You're now working with this venture capital fund. And I think you said you were in an accelerator at that point?
We were in the accelerator. Yeah, the accelerator kind of, the venture capital funds the accelerator. The accelerator kind of teaches us, startup stuff, the stuff that I never knew. I spent about the next 2.5 months doing that. Definitely struggled. I've struggled a lot through the startup program. So much of the accelerator culture back then, not necessarily now, but back then, was so built around raising, pitching. I tell people honestly, like I didn't grow up around venture capital. I didn't know you could go get $1 billion to build a company. I struggled through the program a lot just because I never made that switch from like running a conventional business to a startup business.
Did you have any success with the pitching or did you ever secure any funding with that, Patrick?
So I got funded one more time from Loyola University. Great program. They just had their 4th cohort. So I did get an additional $2K from them, and then I was kind of embedded into their networking family. But that was actually it. Once I finished that program, I started making money at that point, and I felt like venture capital may not necessarily be ideal for me. And especially knowing what I know now, it definitely wasn't ideal or fit for my business at that point in time.
Right. Yeah. Because you were focused on improving your operations, right? Like,
yeah, I was just trying to make money. I wanted to be profitable. Like, dude, I forget to pay a credit card and I'm mad because I'm already in debt. You guys want me to go like hundreds of thousands in debt. I don't like going $50 in debt. What do you like? I'm mad I got to pay back this 50 grand kind of thing. So that was it. Once I finished up Loyola, I had stopped pitching altogether.
That should be an investor's dream. You are safeguarding their money if they were to invest in you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, man. My chief of staff, a lady named Tanisha, she tells me all the time, she's like, well, Patrick, the thing about venture capital, if you get it, you got to spend it. And she knows I'm not wired like that.
Not every business needs an injection of multiple thousands and thousands of dollars. It kind of depends on what your goals are with the business. Yeah. But it sounds like your model could leave you profitable.
Yeah. So we were profitable while I was still in my first accelerator. We made more money than we spent. So it kind of worked out in that regard. Where Superr failed at, though, was we didn't necessarily have a scaling plan. Like, I knew it would solve a problem, but I wasn't prepared to do it on a mass scale. And that's ultimately where things started failing at. It's kind of like we weren't prepared to be a national company, not necessarily all 50 states, but like the 7 or 8 we were in, we were nowhere near prepared to be able to accommodate that.
You were thinking of launching your app across all states at once, or?
When I did Superr, again, my goal was just whoever wants to buy it, I'm going to sell it. So we started in Baltimore, then we got DC, we got a client in Virginia, we got one in Philadelphia, and that was good because this was an on-demand driver app. So my thought was always, if all fails, I can just go do it myself. But when we started going places like Atlanta and Florida, if the workforce there fails and we can't guarantee the service, now the client's mad and they're leaving the platform and then there's bad reviews. We weren't ready to scale. We needed a version of me in all of those states before we even decided to do business there. It shouldn't have been enough to get one deal to just go to Kansas City or like California. That should have never happened.
I feel like whenever you have a business that relies on two sides of a market, right? Because you have the client side and the driver side, you need to be able to supply both sides, and that could be tricky. The good news is you had people wanting your solution, right? So you kind of found that product market fit. But the challenge was getting enough people to supply those solutions. That was the hard part, it sounds like.
It was definitely the hard part. I was not really ready to lead a company that wasn't out of my direct reach. You know, here in the DMV, even from my Virginia team, that's with no traffic, 45 minutes away. It's a client gets mad in Virginia. Hey, let me come down and talk to you, take you out for coffee. Let's hash it up. You know, that happens in Delaware, same thing. What are you doing that happens in Texas? My bad. We're talking about mass transit at this point. We're not talking about somebody missed their Uber. We're talking about, hey, your product didn't work and somebody didn't go to the hospital.
That's huge, right? Like people are strongly relying on your service.
Yeah, it's a big deal, you know, particularly when you work with like paratransit clients and you got people going to dialysis and, you know, hey, Mr. Patrick, your product was supposed to replace that problem of people not showing up to drive. And now your drivers aren't showing up to drive either. Now we're out of both sides. And it's just like, you know, we didn't have systems in place to correct those sorts of things.
Is there any particular story that sticks out to you that almost makes your skin squirm a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a really good contract in Atlanta. Loved Atlanta. It was a beautiful city. We didn't do a good job. Atlanta was like the first time I sat down at my desk and was just like, yo, we didn't do a good job at this. We went in, we took those people's money, and we have not really done what we said we were going to do. Their deal was they wanted us to kind of run their transportation network for them. Imagine using Uber drivers to run your entire operation. We took their money. We said we could do it. We got on a plane. We went and set it up. I got a call from that particular group of Superrs. That's what we called our drivers back then. And they told me they were quitting effectively immediately and going to the post office. This was set to start Monday at 7 a.m. and it's about 8 p.m. on a Sunday.
Jeez.
But again, just like now I know you need plans. You got to expect the unexpected. I kid you not, man. I had like $70 to my name at that point because this is when the bad reviews started piling on. So the business started falling down and we were kind of paper thin. But the Atlanta contract was supposed to be like the saving grace to kind of built this back up. I remember hauling tail to the airport to catch I found like a $32 Spirit flight. And I just told myself, like, I'm going to fly down here and just see what happens. I didn't have hotel money. I didn't have anything. But my plan was just to go down there and, you know, drive it myself and just kind of figure out the rest. But it was just so tacky. And I knew we were fumbling. We eventually got it done. I got home about a week later, but the rest of our relationship with them was just rocky. They kind of like, you know, called me and was just like, this just isn't working. You know, we've tried this, we've tried that. We did this, we did that. We just would like to terminate our agreement. And I felt like that was like the big failure. You know, transportation is an older man's industry, right? So when the other companies got rid of us, it's because like, you guys don't understand, this is the future. This company was young. They were around my age. This was Atlanta. Like, this is Urban Fit. This is this young, cool company. They wear t-shirts. This is like the Facebook of bus driving. That was that moment for me where I was just like, maybe I'm in well over my head. And it's funny, man, I haven't even had a conversation with them since. I think I've still kind of been like dealing with some of the shame. You know, getting fired from a job sucks. Getting fired from a business account is even worse.
Was the failure mostly on like supplying the driver side and the reliability around that? Or where did you guys like fail specifically?
We failed in not planning for failures. For example, let's say I get an account, you reach out to me, say, hey, Pat, I need 3 drivers. I have no problem in getting you 3 drivers tomorrow, putting them in an app and having, here you go, have a great day. What happens when one of those drivers quit? What happens when one of them is out sick for 3 weeks? Like these small things, because in the DMV, we ran our product so perfectly because it was me and a close-knit team. It was about 10 of us, and we just did a good job. When we went to other markets and we had to work with strangers and just regular professionals, that it was no relationship. The relationship was all transactional. I began to realize this old terminology that nobody cares about your company the way you care about your company. And we didn't have systems and safeguards in place for that.
I just want to say thanks for sharing that, man. That is tough. Like stuff like that. It's incredible.
Try to give you guys the realness of it. So I'll go on to say like 21 to maybe mid 23 were probably the 2 worst years of my life. Imagine having everything. Money was great, kids was great, marriage was great, and then starting business, you do really, really good, but then you fall off really, really hard, really, really quick. Felt like that period, like I bet so hard on myself that I don't have a way out. Because I told everybody I'm going to walk out of this great job with my head held high, and I'm going to show all of you how brilliant I am. And here I am now with nothing. Cars repoed, never enough money for anything. And it was rough, man. Those are like the worst 2 years of my life. Most people are not having the Facebook Mark Zuckerberg experience. Most people are having the experience similar to mine, where it's a lot of depression, it's a lot of loneliness because nobody understands. You just want to be creative and change the world, and the world's like, no.
I really appreciate you being so open. A hard thing to relive, but I guess the good news is, it sounds like you're in a much better place now.
Yeah, we're much better now, much smarter, much wiser. I probably wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for those experiences.
Pat, is there any other stories of your time at Superr that stick out in your mind?
The day it all came crashing down, I had a guy who was acting as a mentor of mine. Good guy, I think wrong approach. By now, I had completely lost. Everything was gone. But it's just so wild because I was still stuck in fake mode, where even though I had known this is over, I kind of knew it, like I was untouchable at that point. I still was kind of like acting like things weren't wrong, and they were. I think it kind of upset him a little bit, and I'll never forget it. Never upset him. He's like, I can see right through you. You can't fool me. You don't have nothing. You're just a bus driver. And that was when I realized, like, damn, he's right. It broke me. That was like the moment where I just was like, screw all of this. But looking back on it, it gave me a chip. It gave me a proverbial chip on my shoulder because now I'm going to prove you wrong. And it was hard. Like I cried on the phone as a grown man, crying because it just like, that was it. Like sometimes when you're close to the edge and you get that one thing that just pushes you over, that was it for me.
So he kind of lit a fire under you, even if that fire was to prove him wrong.
It was depression for the first couple months.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All the stages there,
Yeah. Then the fire came maybe about a year or so later.
Like you alluded to before, Patrick, a lot of people go through a very similar story. Maybe not with buses, maybe not with drivers not showing up to their jobs, but with their own struggles in those pivotal moments where are just kind of self-defining, like, oh, that was the moment I knew something was awry. And the fact that you shared your story of that is what we need more people to do. So I applaud you, my friend. Thank you for the vulnerability. Well, Patrick, I know now you started another company, right? That's doing something it's pretty similar. I believe that's called Transit Gigs. Is that right?
Transit Gigs, yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Is it the same kind of business model?
It is now, but that is not how it started.
Oh, okay.
The idea for Transit Gigs came maybe November of 2023. So like the big bad year was when I had that depression spell, was the beginning part of the year. January, coming after Christmas. I'm broke, can't get my kids gifts. I went through all of that till about April, went and got a regular bus driving job. When November got here, I remember doing a private shuttle trip. I had the keys to my old office. I hadn't been there in a year, hadn't paid rent, nothing, but the keys still worked. I went in the building to use the bathroom, and I went to where my old office was. And I was able to really look at the city again, and like I felt that inspiration and that joy coming back. Felt like if God had like a USB drive and he could just put it right into my brain, I felt like that's exactly what happened because he gave me the concept of Transit Gigs, and you're going to be the centralized place for all transit jobs because they're so hard to find. Like if you want to work in Baltimore, those jobs are here, but if you want to work in DC, those jobs are on that site. What if every single bus job in the world was on one site? Hence the name Transit Gigs. It was cool, and it took me a couple of months to build it, and then I took it to market, and that version of it failed too. It didn't go so well. I thought transit gigs, the first version, was great. Like, I can see an immediate need for this tool. The marketplace didn't want it. It wasn't ready for it at the time. So I spent months trying to get the subscription job site off the ground, and everybody was going to use Indeed anyway. It was just a little bit too niche. I would fiddle around with that for probably about 7 or 8 months to get it off the ground. And I never forget, somebody tried to use transit gigs to just find a bus driver. And I went and did the job myself. And they was just like, man, this is really cool. I've been waiting for somebody to build something where I could just like go download a bus driver. I was like, that was Superr. I was like, man, you know what? I don't know how to run a subscription platform anyway. And from there, transit gigs started to transition back to what Superr was. But I was so much smarter now. When I ran Superr, I was a bus driver trying to run a business. Whereas with transit gigs, I'm a businessman that just happens to know how to drive the bus. Because of that, we've been able to grow transit gigs quickly, profitably, much safer, 100% staffing, still just as cool in other states that's not even in this region, much more fluidly, better, and successful.
You also went up to Wayne, Pennsylvania a little bit, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, and that's a part of it, man. I didn't even know we could talk about that. Okay, great.
That's near my old hometown. We got to bring up Wayne, Pennsylvania.
Man, listen, I love those guys so much. And I hope they see this interview. EcoLane USA. And they always judge me because I was always just like the transparent, vulnerable team member. But they saved my life. And I was at my lowest point. Matthew Taylor, LinkedIn, brilliant guy. He reached out to me to recruit for this position called a customer onboarding specialist. He hired me to recruit for the position. And I saw it and I was just like, I'll do it. I'll do the position myself. When I ran Superr, I had no idea how procurement worked. I had no idea how vendor workshops worked. I had no idea how to get to those next level customers. I had no idea how to talk to them. These guys brought me in and they taught me so much without even knowing they were teaching me. They saved my life. They saved my life and saved my business.
You were at Superb. That didn't go super well. You go up to Wayne to work for EcoLane. You learn more the business behind the business, right? Yeah. And then you start up transit gigs as a
job board.
Like a job board, yeah. But now you pivoted back to what Superb once was. And I think that's where we are now for the most part. Right, Pat?
That's exactly where we are now. And we do more than just bus drivers now. We do dispatchers, scheduling, reservation agents, parking people, chauffeurs. Now we are effectively, literally transit gigs. So if there's a sort of gig, short-term, long-term, full-time, part-time that your company needs filled, we added bus deliveries to the itinerary now. So that's something we can do. It's just anything that's a transit gig is giggable. Like we can do it. We got a good team here. And we literally just transform these jobs into products now. Everything you will want out of a employee, you can get from us effectively in a box. Well, what about the background checks? Well, that's a part of the box. What about the drug tests? That's a part of the box. Well, how do I know they're going to be on time? It's a part of the box. Here you go. And so all I do is swipe my credit card. Yes. No way is that easy. Yes, it is. And we've just kind of simplified it, man. And it's been really cool.
And it sounds like it's been well received, right? Like you're getting orders, you're getting gigs, right? I love that name, by the way. My ears perked up, even though I'm wearing headphones. You couldn't see them.
When we were talking about buses earlier, I had so many things going through my mind. Of course, obviously, I'm like, okay, we got all the bus types, right? We got major bus, you got athletes on buses. Then you mentioned people were sick going to the hospital on buses, basically ambulances without sirens. So what bus do we put as the thumbnail? That's the real question. Which bus?
If it's up to me, man, I'm going to probably use a regular transit bus. We're a transit gig, so we got to use a regular transit bus.
Patrick, thanks for sharing all that, man. Super insightful, a lot of lessons there, and some really cool stories, even if they talk about some things that are kind of hard to talk about from time to time.
Absolutely, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you guys for having this platform that reaches entrepreneurs. I think there is value in every story. And so I'm grateful you guys allowed me to be a part of it. So thank you.
Well, let's move on into our next section of the show, which is Find the Flop, featuring our favorite Josh Bowman here. Bowman, take us away, my friend.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Wes. All right. So Patrick, here's how this works. This is Find the Flop. I'm going to list out a bunch of products or businesses. There's going to be 4 of them. One of them flopped. 3 of them succeeded. And all that you have to do alongside of Wes here is find the flop. Which one failed? Today's theme is high-tech things you absolutely need and should buy right away.
Okay.
Here we go. Number 1. This product is called Juicero, a high-tech juicing company known as the Keurig for juice. It exerts 4 tons of force to press juice out of pre-packaged fruit and vegetable packs that are mailed to your door. You need this one. Number 2, the Revolution Cooking R180 high-speed smart toaster. It has a touch screen and Instaglow heating technology, which is so perfect, it sears bread without drying it. Everyone needs a touchscreen on their toaster. Number 3, the June Oven, a smart countertop convection oven that can bake, roast, air fry, dehydrate, grill, slow cook, and more. It uses artificial intelligence and built-in cameras to recognize foods and automatically adjust the cooking setting based on what it sees in the oven. Everyone should have a June Oven. Number 4, the Breville Barista Pro. The Barista Pro includes a feature called Thermojet Heating System that achieves the optimal extraction temperature in just 3 seconds. So no more waiting 40 seconds for the water to boil. Yeah, so these are the 4 products you absolutely need. So from the top, just the names. Number 1, the Juicero, Smush and Juice. Number 2, the Revolutionary Cooking R180 high-speed smart toaster with the touchscreen. Number 3, the June Oven using artificial intelligence. And then number 4, the Breville Barista Pro, 3 seconds for perfect extraction of your coffee beans. Which one flopped?
I think I know this one, Bowman. I think I know this one. You crafty devil, you. I'm going Juicero, 100%, knocking it down, nailing it in. What are they doing? Just pressing fruit for me? We got a blender for that. I mean, come on.
Well, you don't like fruit and vegetables, Wes? That's the most you thing ever.
I'm gonna go oven. I think when I was hearing it, I'm just like, man, that's an air fryer. So I'm gonna go with the oven. I feel like the oven, and it could be because I'm cheap, but I'm like, man, that's an air fryer. That's literally an air fryer with AI.
Oh man, beautiful. Beautiful guesses. And unfortunately, Wes is correct. The Juicero, and this is kind of funny though, I giggled really hard reading the story. I had to Google it. It did great. It was a $400 juicer, right? That smashed these bags, right? This massive juicer, high-tech, internet-capable. It completely got destroyed one day because a content creator on YouTube figured out that if you just took the juice packs and squeezed them with your hands, you got the same amount of juice as the $400 juicer.
Yeah, no, that'll kill any business.
There's videos of people just like squeezing the juice and then the thing doing it, and they're like exactly the same or like a tiny bit, and the internet destroyed this company. All right, number 2. These are high-tech electronics. And one of these businesses is the business that has flopped. I'm going to give you 4 businesses. So number 1, Sennheiser, a German audio company known for high-end market stuff. Number 2, JBL, known for its loudspeakers. Number 3, Sony. And number 4, Jawbone.
We're finding the one that failed, right?
Yeah, we got to find one that failed. Which of these 4 failed?
I think it may be Jawbone. I haven't seen Jawbone. I was going with the first one at first, but I was like, no, I haven't seen a Jawbone Bluetooth in quite some time.
Yeah, it's Jawbone. I'm with you, Pat, 100%.
All right, you guys crushed it. I made this one too easy. The second I put Sony in there, I knew this was a gimme.
Sony and JBL was between 1 and 2.
Yeah, actually, I remember Jawbones too. They're pretty cool, right? They had a cool design, they had great tech, celebrity endorsements, premium resale partnerships. However, they had major product delays. They had issues actually getting things manufactured. And then they kind of got taken out by Fitbit. They went all in on this like Jawbone health tracker, competed with Fitbit, and they got devastated in 2017. That's it. It looks like we got 2 for 2 finding the flop. Thanks for playing, gents.
All right, for our final segment, let's do the quick hitter questions featuring me, Wes Rissell. All right. Let's get started, Pat. So, Pat, these are just really quick hitter questions. Give me your first answer that comes straight to your mind.
Got it.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, Pat. If you could ask your future self one thing, what would it be?
Ask my future self one thing. Was it worth it?
In relations to what?
When I started this journey, was it worth it? My future self will know how it works out in the end.
All right, number 2. What was the scariest moment of your life thus far?
the bridge falling.
It's too close to home.
Yeah, like I saw it. Like I promised, I went to bed at midnight. Bridge was there. Woke up at 7 a.m. Bridge gone. That is the scariest moment of my life.
All right, number 3. What do you know isn't real, but want badly for it to exist?
Food that does not have calories and tastes good.
Oh,
That's a great answer.
I would love to eat like whatever I want and it'd be calorie less. Like I don't want to switch out on flavor though.
All right, number 4. In a Freaky Friday situation where you woke up in someone else's body, whose body would you want to wake up in, and who would you want to wake up in your body?
If I could wake up in anybody's body, man, it'd be Brock Lesnar. It'd be Brock Lesnar by far. Not even close. Professional wrestler.
Oh, okay. I was like, I'm not sure who Brock Lesnar is.
Yeah, he's like, I say all the time, like if aliens came to the planet Earth and said, send us like your toughest human to fight for everybody, we should send Brock Lesnar. To wake up in my body, I'm going to say my wife, bro, because she always say like, Pat, you act like such an old man. And I'm like, babe, you don't know how I feel. So put her in my body so she can see how I feel.
Final question here. What is the best decision you've made in your life?
Following Jesus.
Okay.
Following Jesus.
Love
Absolutely.
it. All right, great. Great. Well, that does it for the quick hitter questions. Let's normally Tyler would hand it off to me, but I guess I'll hand it back to myself.
you got this one, Wes. Over to you.
Well, Pat, thanks again for coming on, my friend. It's super fun talking with you and just great going over the stories. I'm serious. We got to have you back on.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity. I hope you guys find value in it. Hope your audience find values in it.
Pat, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or just connect with you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool, man. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My whole entire LinkedIn handle is actually there on the screen. If you want to check out Transient Gigs, visit us at transientgigs.com. Again, and like I had mentioned, reach out if you got any questions, concern about buses, entrepreneurship, or Brock Lesnar. Please just listen. You guys think I could talk about buses? Please don't get me started about professional wrestling.
I'll throw Pat's LinkedIn URL on the description of this. For the people out there who haven't yet and want to, that's the thing, you got to want to do it. Maybe consider liking and subscribing the video so we can continue talking to awesome people like Pat here.
Do it on this one's the metrics show that I'm better than Tyler.
Yeah. Oh, Pat, I meant to ask you about your podcast.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for allowing us to plug, man. So we host something called the Next Stop Podcast, which is kind of very similar to this one. We try to find really awesome bus drivers who went to the next stop, where they took the opportunity of just being a bus operator and have been able to just grow it past what anybody thought would be possible. We used to be every Thursday, but business got crazy out of nowhere. So now it's just kind of like a sporadic Thursday, but we'll be bouncing back really soon with that. You can check that out on the Transit Gigs YouTube channel.
Cool. I will also put that in the description. Well, that does it for another episode of The Flop, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.